Luxury marketing has convinced women over 40 that if we don't look expensive, polished, and visibly updated, we've somehow let ourselves go. But in today's video, we're exploring why looking poor is the ultimate style move. Chapter 1, they taught women over 40 to fear looking like they're not trying. The fashion industry started this, and social media made it feel non-stop. It hasn't just made women over 40 worry about looking bad. That would be too obvious. What it has really done is making us anxious about looking like we're not trying hard enough, like we're slightly behind, slightly flat, slightly unmaintained, and like if the outfit isn't visibly working, then somehow we're not either. And that's where the money is. Because the moment a woman starts worrying that calmness might be mistaken for neglect, she becomes much easier to sell to. Now she needs the updated bag, the fresher denim, the current shoe shape, and the little luxury signal, the seasonal correction. So, not necessarily because anything was wrong with her wardrobe, but because she has been taught not to trust what understatement looks like on a grown woman. And that's the part I really want women to hear. A lot of what gets sold to us as polish is really just fear in a better outfit. Fear of looking behind and like we're not informed about the newest trends. And because women over 40 are already dealing with a culture that likes to make us feel less visible as we age, that messaging lands exactly where it's meant to. It tells us that if age is making us easier to overlook, then our clothes need to work harder. The labels need to say more, and the outfits need to prove more. The bag needs to reassure people that we still belong in the room. But that is not style, that's pressure. And I think the older you get, the less tolerance you should have for dressing from that state. Chapter 2, luxury is not a style standard, it's a revenue strategy. Now here's the thing about luxury. It gets treated like it's automatically the highest form of style, as if expensive means refined and hard to get means worth having. But a lot of luxury marketing has very little to do with helping a woman dress well. It's much more about keeping her slightly unsettled and slightly unsure, just insecure enough to keep buying. Look at the language and you can hear it immediately. Exclusive, limited, waitlist, investment, iconic, rare. And none of that is there by accident. It's there to make you feel like style is always just out of reach and you need to spend your way back into it. And I think women over 40 really need to see that clearly, because this should be the point where style starts getting easier and not harder and not more expensive. Just more settled, more exact, and more your own. You should be refining and repeating what works and building a wardrobe with actual authority in it. But that is not very profitable, is it? The industry does much better when women stay a little unsure of themselves, like a little too open to correction and a little too ready to believe the next thing will pull everything together. And that's why the rules keep changing. One year, logos are tacky. The next year, they are back. One year, minimalism is the smartest thing in the world. The next year, you need an it bag to prove you still understand fashion. And 1 minute, it's buy less, buy better, and 5 minutes later, it's don't miss the drop. The contradiction is not accidental. It's the strategy. Forget what they told us. Price is not proof of style. Scarcity is not proof of taste. And if a piece only feels powerful because other people recognize the brand, then that power was never really sitting with you in the first place. Real style gets stronger when you strip all that away. Like, take away the logo, take away the shopping story, and then see what's left. If the piece still works on your body, still supports your line, still belongs in your actual life, then fine. But if it falls apart without the label, then what you bought was not really style, it was reassurance. And women spend a frightening amount of money on reassurance. So please see for yourself what you think about this influencer's shopping trip here. Are these purchases coming from a calm, grounded knowledge of personal style? Maybe. But maybe, might it be the luxury branding and the shopping story doing some of the work here?
I think I'm about to make a very silly purchase, and I've traveled all the way to Paris just to find it, so you're gonna come with me. I've literally come all the way to Paris just to come to this store. Basically, I wanted to buy this bag and I sold out on the whole of the UK. There was only one left in stock in Paris, and you guys told me I should come to Paris, so bonjour. I see you a bag of apples. That's the one. It was quite heavy.
Yes.
I come all the way from London to get this bag, so I'm so honored to have you. I'm honored to be here. It's quite a lot of storage. Amazing. Have you got other weird bags? Oh, I did not know I wanted to buy a fish until today. Does the fish open by the mouth or its flap? Didn't think I'd say that sentence. Oh, wow.
You want to try it?
Okay, may as well. Kill first. Wait, why do I come on there? Guys, do I buy the fish? I've come for the apples, but am I leaving with a poisson? Oh, that's so cute. That reminds me of my dog.
Your dog's Jim Apollo.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to make excuses to buy it. That is so cute. So much. Is that a bag or is it laundry? Whoa. That is a bag. This, I feel like actually would go really well in an outfit. No one would ever think of it as a bag. What do you guys think? I shouldn't have this. Yes. Okay, give me one for free and then I'll say both.
Hi, I'm Bridget Fisher, and I help women over 40 prove something radical. Aging is your style advantage, not your obstacle, and I do this with German honesty. Welcome to the Aura Club. Chapter 3, what Jane Birkin actually understood. Let's talk about Jane Birkin because I do think she gets misunderstood. People look at her and say, effortless, and leave it there. Well, fine. But that's not really the interesting part. What made her style so strong was not just the basket or the shirts or the denim or the bangs. It was the fact that nothing looked too precious. Beautiful things were allowed to be used. And good clothes were allowed to look lived in. Even luxury around her came down a level. She wasn't trying to look expensive. She looked untouched by the need to. And I think that's why her style still feels so clear now. She wasn't building identity through shopping. It looked like the style had settled into her over time rather than been assembled to impress anybody. And that is such an important distinction for women over 40 because by this stage, style should start feeling more lived in, more integrated, less like costume and less like a performance, and less like a reaction to whatever everybody else is doing. And that's exactly where the industry starts losing its grip. Because once a woman trusts repetition and trusts her own eye, she stops needing trends to keep telling her who she is. Chapter 4, the Birkin bag became a status ritual, and that should bother you. Now, let's talk about the Birkin bag itself, because this is where the whole luxury machine becomes almost too obvious. What started as an object with some connection to practicality and a real woman's life has now become this bizarre performance of scarcity, access, waiting, and gratitude. There are appointments and relationship building, and then maybe you are offered a bag, sometimes not even in the color you really want. And then the internet steps in and tells you that you'd be stupid not to buy it because you got access, because you got the call, because you were chosen. And I'm sorry, but what a humiliating setup. A woman is expected to feel honored by the chance to spend an enormous amount of money on something she may not even like in exactly the form she wants. The whole thing gets reframed as privilege instead of pressure. The compromise becomes part of the fantasy, and the lack of choice becomes part of the prestige. The absurdity gets dressed up as sophistication, and that is not style. That is conditioning. And then, of course, the purchase itself becomes something to display. It gets photographed, filmed, shared, and turned into proof, almost as if it doesn't fully count until other people have witnessed it. And that tells you everything about what is actually being bought. Because if this were really about the object, about beauty or function or even genuine pleasure, it would not need this much theater around it. But it isn't really about the object in the most cases. It's about symbolic value, about social positioning, about being seen having crossed some invisible threshold. And I think the saddest part is what happens after the purchase. So many people do not even use the thing properly. The plastic stays on the hardware. The bag is handled with fear. It's preserved for resale or future value or simply for the story of owning it. And that to me is where the purchase starts to feel insulting actually. Because what have you really bought if you're now too tense to live with it properly? If something costs that much but leaves you nervous about using it, too worried to scratch it, too cautious to let it become part of your actual life, then the whole arrangement starts to feel absurd. The object ends up controlling the woman and not the other way around. And they try to convince us that this whole ritual is refinement. Well, we know better. Refinement is not being emotionally managed by a sales system. And refinement is not confusing access with discernment. And refinement is definitely not needing public validation to make a purchase feel meaningful. The woman who can walk away from that game is always more powerful than the woman trying to win it. Chapter 5, Why Looking Poor is the Ultimate Power Move. So let's talk about the phrase itself, because obviously I do not mean actual poverty. I mean the visual codes our culture has been taught to associate with value. When I say looking poor is the ultimate power move, what I really mean is opting out of anxious status signaling. I mean stepping away from the visual language of trying very hard to look expensive all the time. The logo bag, the obvious flags, the fresh off the shelf stiffness, the constant visible proof that money has been spent here. And to the wrong sort of person, yes, that may read as too plain and too quiet and not polished enough in the current luxury way. Fine, let them misread it. People trained to notice logos before women were never the audience anyway. But I do want to say this clearly because this matters. This is not about disappearing. It's not about making yourself smaller or duller or more apologetic. The Aura Club actually celebrates invisibility refusal. So this is not be less visible. It's actually the opposite. It's invisibility refusal through restraint. You are not fading back. You are taking your body and your style out of a status system that was never built to honor you in the first place. That is a completely different thing. Before we continue, I've created an ebook collection that includes Style After 40, the core style system, and a few others. And I'm running a sale right now on Style After 40 because if you only ever go through one of my ebooks, this is the one I would love you to work through because it's the most empowering and it gives you so much clarity and confidence in your style as you age. And if you get any 2 items from the shop, the wishlist planner will be added to your basket automatically for free. Chapter 6, what comes after the status game? Now, if you stop dressing for status, you do need something stronger to stand on. And I think this is where women often get stuck. They know they are tired of the pressure and they know they don't want to keep shopping from insecurity. But if the alternative isn't fully built yet, the old habits slip back in very easily. The little thrill of novelty, the panic purchase, the expensive piece that seems as if it might solve something deeper than style. But the answer is self-possession. It's knowing your own wardrobe well enough that repetition starts to feel intelligent instead of boring. You wear the same coat because it still works. You carry the same bag because it belongs to your life. You buy the trousers again because the line is right on you, and there's no price for making things harder than they need to be. And that's not giving up. That's clarity. And the same goes for fabric. And I think this matters more after 40 than people admit. Flash is easy. Texture is where taste starts showing up. Good cotton, proper wool, real denim, leather that improves with handling, linen that wrinkles because of course it does. Those things do not need a logo or a dramatic introduction. They just get better the closer you get to them. And that is such a different way of dressing from what social media and fashion industry push all day long. And honestly, I think women over 40 deserve exactly that kind of relationship with their clothes, not endless corrections and not the constant suggestion that your real style is always one purchase away. The shift is much quieter than that. It looks like certainty. It looks like a woman who stopped waiting for fashion to tell her who she is. And there's one more thing I wanted to share with you. If you want my basic power system for free, I have linked it in the description, and it's a very simple way to start making more confident purchase decisions straight away. So if you ever need to buy something, just run it through Basic Power and you will have so much more clarity. Chapter 7. Run it through the autonomy filter. So let's make this practical, because once you start seeing the manipulation more clearly, the next question is kind of obvious. How do you stop it from getting you at the exact moment you're about to buy something? And this is where I think a woman over 40 needs a filter. Because taste alone is not enough when the whole industry is built to catch you in a vulnerable moment and sell that back to you as desire. So that's what the autonomy filter is for. It starts with a very simple question. Am I shopping from clarity right now, or am I compensating for something? And that matters because if you are not in a neutral headspace, you are much easier to be convinced. Then there's the question of who the purchase is really for. Is it actually for you or for some imagined version of how you hope to be seen? Your wardrobe is supposed to support your life and not perform for other people. And then you have to ask whether the piece fits the life you have now or some future version of yourself that keeps getting sold to. That one catches a lot of nonsense very quickly. And so does the scarcity question. So this question is about, do I really want this, or am I afraid it will disappear? Because women get pushed into bad decisions all the time by urgency, and most of that urgency is manufactured. We've just spent an entire chapter talking about the Birkin bag, and I think that's exactly why it's such a useful example. So much of that world runs on pressure disguised as privilege. And then there's that question that exposes almost everything. Am I responding to the piece itself or to a sales tactic? Strip away the discount, the shop assistant, the atmosphere, the little rush around it. Do you still want it? That's usually where the truth is. And what I like about our autonomy filter is that it brings a woman back to herself. It cuts through the noise and slows the whole thing down. But more importantly, it puts her back in charge of her own judgment. That to me is what style autonomy really looks like in real life. Chapter 8. Become the woman they can't sell to. The industry does not actually mind women with money. It minds women who are no longer impressed so easily. And I think that is one of the best shifts after 40 if you let it happen. You stop thinking every beautiful thing is meant for you. You stop acting like the right purchase might fix some low-level discomfort you've been carrying around. And you also stop giving so much meaning to objects that have not earned it. The bag at the end of the day, is just a bag. And the coat is just a coat, no matter how much you love fashion, and I do too. The sale is just a sale, and if something is right for you, fine. But if it isn't, you leave it there and go home, and there's no drama, no strange feeling that you missed your chance to become a more interesting woman, because no. And that changes the whole experience. The performance around the product stops working on you so easily. You can feel the pressure, so can I sometimes. You can see the tactic and still stay clear in your own mind. You buy less, but you buy with more clarity. And you repeat things without embarrassment. That's so important. And that is why I keep coming back to this idea of looking poor. Because what it really means is that you've stopped cooperating with the status game. You are no longer dressing to signal wealth or effort or relevance on command. You're dressing from your own standards now. And yes, some people will misread it, and that's completely fine. And people who need a logo to recognize value, but a woman who has stopped performing for that system, she just looks different. And to me, that is where the real power is. And if you now refuse to look rich and want to see what real effortless style looks like after 40, I break it down in this video here. And always remember, confidence looks good on you.